see the whole world shaking, and you feel your heart is breaking. Take my hand, no hesitating. When you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel this, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel this, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Good evening. There seems to be a little delay today, and I've been trying to correct it between the audio and the video. I tried two different browsers, and I apologize. Sometimes it's just the connection, so there might be a little bit of a delay in today's broadcast. But it's going to be a good one because it's going to be actually in two parts. It's going to be first, we're going to talk about why the present time we really don't have a real estate bubble right now as we did back in 2007, 2008. So we're going to talk about that. But then we're going to have a guest speaker, and that's Ace Marie Abalana of Rocket Title. Okay, I have to make sure I say Rocket Title because we're used to say Rocket Mortgage, and Rocket Title has nothing to do with Rocket Mortgage. They're two separate entities, okay? And we're going to talk about what is the purpose of the title company. Okay, it's going to be good for new home buyers because this is another business business organization of your closing process that you have to meet with a closing company. So we'll go over that today. And so we'll actually have two parts. I'll try to make the first part not too long. I want to keep it within around 30 minutes. The last couple of episodes have gone a little bit longer, but I'll try to keep it a little bit shorter if possible. But I get very wordy. I get very, I talk a lot. I'm sorry. I apologize. So let's do our preview, and then we'll go right into the work. Okay, so let me get rid of my nice little caption here so we have more room on the screen. And okay, I should have done that before. I'm sorry. Where is my caption here? Hold on. I apologize. Okay, we'll hide this right now. And let's bring in our PDF file. Okay. Full simple graph showing why this is not a housing bubble. Now, just to give you a little history of this, in 2007, 2008, prices were extremely high. Okay. And people were buying homes that were overinflated, as well as perhaps overinflated appraised values. Okay. And then companies or mortgage companies, finance companies were giving loans perhaps to some people who may not have been able to afford them. All right. There were, at that time, I remember there were lenders that were A credit and B, C, D credit. And it, they pre-approved a lot of people that perhaps should not have been pre-approved. Also, I'll bring this up now. We were doing back then, well, not we, I mean, the the real estate industry and the mortgage industry were offering variable rate mortgages. So let's say, for instance, the rate began at 2%, and it had, let's say, a cap of let's go up to 5%, 5% up to 7%. Okay, all right, 5 points. Now, what they did back then, the mortgage company would pre-qualify you at that 2% payment, okay, of that mortgage. So I'm just throwing out some numbers there. Let's say if you have a $200,000 mortgage and that 2%, it was $1,000 and you were able to afford it. But let's say at 7%, it was, let's say, around $1,800. Okay. And I'm just throwing numbers out there. Okay. I don't know what the true, I haven't figured that out, what the true amount would be. The monthly mortgage would be on the 200,000 loan at 7%. But let's say it went up to 1,800, and now you cannot afford it and you can't make the payments and you go into foreclosure. All right. What they do now, what banks do when they offer variable rate mortgages, and I really haven't seen that many of them lately. What they do now, they will pre-qualify you or pre-approve you at the monthly payment of that mortgage at the 7%. All right. So if they know now in 2022, you could make that mortgage payment on a $200,000 mortgage at 7%, they know that if you make that payment now, if you could make that payment now, you'll be all right. Okay. Because you'll start out for the very low rate, and that's not a problem, but they want to make sure you could pay it when it gets to 7%. All right. But they weren't doing that back then. All right. They were just pre-approving you at the 2%. And that's a no good. All right. So let's go down here. So just let me get my highlighter out here. So it's comparing this time period with around 2007, 2008. And what we have right now, we do have higher prices on homes, that's for sure. Okay. And some people are comparing it because of that reason, because of that higher price on the homes. They're saying, is it going to be the real estate bubble that burst? Okay, we call it a bubble because it burst. And then we had many problems. So it says, however, this market is very different than it was during the housing crash 15 years ago. And here are the 4 reasons. Now, they're putting the term houses are not unaffordable like they would during the housing boom. So that's really a question of semantics here. They're not saying expensive, right? Yes, we know that homes are more expensive, but when you compare it with the gross income of potential buyers, they're not unaffordable. They're expensive, let's put it that way, but they could be purchased with today's buyers. All right. The affordability formula has three components: the price of the home, wages earned by the purchaser, and the mortgage rate available at the time. Conventional lending standards say a purchaser could spend more than 28% of their gross income on a mortgage payment. So how was it different? 15 years ago, prices were high, wages were low, and mortgage rates were over 6%. I remember that. Today, prices are still high. Wages, however, have increased, and the mortgage rate, even after the recent spike, is still well below 6%. All right, right now it's hovering around 3.5. That means the average purchaser today pays less of their monthly income toward their mortgage payment than they did back then because of those reasons, because of the lower interest rate, and incomes have increased. The average wage earner can still afford the typical home across the United States, but the financial comfort zone continues shrinking as home prices keep soaring and mortgage rates tick upward. So that's what's happening now. Now, in many of my previous podcasts, um, this year we expect rates to go up about 5%. All right. Last year it was actually 18%. And, a ballpark, depending on the areas, let's say from 18 to 21%. Affordability isn't as strong as it was last year, but it is much better than it was during the boom. And here's the chart below showing the difference. Homes more affordable today than in 2007. The monthly principal and interest payment as a percentage of income required to purchase the average price home with 20% down. Okay. So here it's at 34.1% back in 2007. And today it is 25.8%. That's actually lower than the normal lending standard. So that's something positive as compared to 2007. And then it says, if costs were so prohibitive, how did so many homes sell during the housing boom? All right. And now the next one, mortgage standards were much more relaxed during the boom. And as I stated earlier, mortgage companies were writing mortgages for people who most likely could not afford it after a long-term period had passed. All right. During the housing bubble, it was much easier to get a mortgage than it is today. As an example, let's review the number of mortgages granted to purchasers with credit scores under 620. According to credit.org, a credit score between 560 and 519 is considered poor. In defining those with a score below 620, they explain credit agencies consider consumers with credit delinquencies, account rejections, and little credit history as subprime borrowers due to the high credit risk. Buyers can still qualify for a mortgage with a credit score that low, but they are considered riskier than borrowers. Here's a graph showing the mortgage volumes issued to purchasers with credit scores of less than 620 during the housing boom, and the subsequent volume in 14 years later. All right. So here in the red, they're showing the ones, they're showing the volume of loans uh, in billions with a credit score below 620. So back then, if you look at the years from 2007, actually going back to 2003, you see many more loans being made to people with scores below 620. But to avoid the bubble crash of 2007, then the lending requirements became stricter. Okay. And we see it go down from 2008 to 2021. So loans are not made in most cases to potential buyers for under who have credit scores of under 620. So here's a big one too. The foreclosure situation is nothing like it was during the crash. The most obvious difference is the number of homeowners that were facing foreclosure after the housing bubble burst. The Federal Reserve issues a report showing the number of consumers with a new foreclosure notice. Here are the numbers during the crash compared to today. So the foreclosure situation is different now. The number of consumers with new foreclosures. So this is 4 years of the housing crash. So it starts crashing in 2007, and we see, especially in 2009, you have over 2 million foreclosures in the country, and then it starts going down. All right. And here, you see from 2018 to 21, it has gone down considerably. And here we're in 2021. And that's why with my investors, they can't find anything right now. All right. It's very difficult. I mean, it's a good thing in the sense for people not losing their homes. For investors who take properties and they flip them, it's not a good time right now. And actually, what they're doing, they're looking for homes that are not foreclosed, but they need work. The owner has not did any type of renovations, any type of upgradings, and they're buying them maybe for cash, maybe below their asking price, and just kind of flipping them. And without going into too much detail, because I want to uh, get ready for our guest speaker. And the biggest thing right now, we don't have a surplus of homes on the market. We actually have a shortage. Okay, back in 2007, we had many homes on the market, and they weren't being purchased, and that was a big problem as well. It's reversed right now. We have a shortage of homes. We need more homes. Um, I I'm beginning to see a little bit of an uptick of listings coming aboard. I should be having 2 new listings coming up in March, so it's getting better for me as well. I also believe that the biggest block for people when it comes to listing their homes was the pandemic. And if they were still living in their homes um, when they were listing a house, perhaps waiting for the closing on their new home, or some people who are having homes built, and since they were still living at their location, they did not want so many people walking through there and perhaps spreading the COVID-19. So because of that fear, we had the shortage. Now the reports are, and I'm hoping it's true, I'm hoping we follow through with this, okay, is that we're getting out of this pandemic. We're getting to some sort of normal. I don't think when we say for some type of normal, I don't think it's going to be exactly how it was prior to, let's say, 2019. We'll have more precautions, but actually, it will be for the better because of the precautions that we take. Um, so let's get back to, before I go too much off topic. And they show the supply of homes is nothing like last time. And again, they show this is again 2007 when you're having the the burst of the bubble for the real estate market, and you have 9.6 million homes, 9.4. In 2009, it drops, but for some reason, I don't know why it is in the graph, but it does jump up again in 2010. I would have to research that to see why it went back up again. So inventory is nothing like past time. Prices are rising because there is a healthy demand for home ownership at the same time there's a home shortage for sale. See, we keep on putting that in there because we need your listings. Okay. New construction is coming in now. It's building back up. Again, this whole pandemic, which hurt a lot of things, where when dealing with the chain, of services of transportation, the supply chain, that hurt a lot of things. All right. Having people who work at mills, cutting down logs, different manufacturing plants, they were all short of workers. That's coming back to some sort of normal. So construction is back on the rise, and hopefully it's going to continue. We really need, I read another report that how many homes, even without the pandemic, we really need more homes, okay, to be built. And locally, here in Hampton, I see so much new construction going up. The majority of them are rentals, which I don't know why they're doing all rentals. Maybe they will later convert into condos. Maybe they just want to get people into them and then later convert to condos. But I'd rather have people have home ownership than renting. Okay. So that's a little side view of what's going on in Hampton. But yeah, I would like to see more condo units going up than these apartment units going up. All right. So just to break it up a little bit, I'm going to show a little video now on if you want to sell, and I hope you do, and I want you to contact me why you have to sell strategically. Okay. So there were some good steps there. Again, it's a great time to list your house. And I'm going to recommend it too. I always say, us realtors, we want you to do everything now. We don't say to wait 6 months or whatever. But we truly expect mortgage interest rates to go up. So if you're thinking about selling, you will have more buyers for your property, okay? A pool of buyers now at the beginning of the year, as if you wait to the end of the year, where rates might be maybe over 4%, what happens is that pool of buyers will get smaller because it's going to go now outside their affordability bracket, all right, or their price range. Okay, so it's best, and especially with the spring coming, it's best to list now. Truthfully, it's best to list now. And the same thing with my buyers. If you're ready to buy now before those mortgage interest rates go up higher. And we really, really expect that to happen. Okay? So remember to stay tuned. Right after this will be my interview with, let me get her info up here. Okay. Here it is. I'm going to have my interview, or it's not really interview. It's not like I'm interviewing for a job, but we're going to talk with Ace Marie Abelana of Rocket Title, and there's her contact information there. So that will be coming next. Okay. So I'm hearing from my producer William that we may have that actually a famous celebrity has called in over the phone and wants to speak to me. Is that true? Just give me a second. We're having a little technical difficulties here. So again, right after this, we're going to have our talk with Ace Marie Abelana of Rocket Title, and we're going to talk about the purpose of the title company, what they do, what other different tasks that they do for the buyer and or seller, and why it's a good idea to use Rocket Title. Okay, so we'll talk about that, and just one more graphic as I'm waiting for my producer to feed through the phone call. What's driving buyers today? The high buyer demand, and buyers are motivated to beat rising mortgage rates. Right? We talked about that. They want to buy now or as soon as possible before the rates go up even higher. And millennials are reaching their peak home buying age. They're hopefully now in good positions at their jobs and have money for a down payment and closing costs. And buyers want to escape rising rents. They are going up as well as home prices. Okay, so all of that is happening, and and that's why we have such a strong buyer demand right now. Okay, so I think he's ready now. William is actually going to feed through now. I have a phone call from a very famous celebrity.
Yes, great news. We have a very famous celebrity who has called in. He is an American actor, producer, and director. He is particularly known for his 9 collaborations with filmmaker Martin Scorsese and is the recipient of various accolades, including 2 Academy Awards, a Golden Globe Award, the Cecil B. DeMille Award, and a Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award. In 2009, De Niro received the Kennedy Center Honor and received a Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Barack Obama in 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert De Niro.
Wow. Well, it's a great honor to have you here today, Mr. Robert De Niro.
Who's this?
It's Chris Gargiulo of Real Estate with Mr. G.
Yeah, can I help you?
Yeah, I was wondering if you were familiar with my blog and website, Real Estate with Mr. G.
Yes.
And have you been watching our live stream podcast as well?
Yes, I did.
And what do you think? You think they're going well? Any comments?
Could you at least try maybe to consider another profession?
There. All right. Well, I hope you have a great week. We'll see you next time on Real Estate with Mr. G. And be kind to each other. And remember, the greatest power we have is to love, and the greatest gift is each other. See you next week.